In a landmark ruling, a judge in Oklahoma has ruled Johnson & Johnson is responsible for fueling the state's opioid epidemic, ordering the pharmaceutical company to pay $527 million. So what will that verdict mean here in Canada, with Ontario and BC now involved in similar class action lawsuits? Joining me with more is lawyer Jasmine Daya. Jasmine, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so it's a U.S. case. But how much influence could that have when these similar cases ultimately make it to court here in Canada?
I believe it's going to have a lot of influence here in Canada because it has set the framework. It is a landmark decision. There is no other state that has pursued pharmaceutical companies in the way that the state of Oklahoma did and with the decision rendered yesterday. In Canada, the provinces have not pursued pharmaceutical companies in the way that Oklahoma did just yesterday. So I think it's going to definitely be used as a basis for a framework. The British Columbia Attorney General said that he is pleased with the results.
Okay, well, let's look at the case a little bit. It hinged on whether or not the judge bought into the state's, what they call the public nuisance theory. What is that?
The public nuisance theory is very interesting because it's not something used commonly in Canada. It has never been used in, from what I know, in the context of pharmaceutical companies. And yesterday it was stated that it's never been used in the context of pharmaceutical companies in the state of Oklahoma. And it is going to form a basis for the appeal that counsel for Johnson & Johnson plan on launching shortly. It's usually used in the context of property.
Is the public nuisance theory something that could be used here in Canada?
It is. It is a tort that can be used in Canada, but again, it's usually used in the context of property issues, and it's rarely seen. I think that we would consider using negligence and product liability. We could consider public nuisance, but it's just very rare.
We were talking during the break that the $500 and change million that Johnson & Johnson is now responsible for is far less than the $17 billion that the state was looking for. So I want to know your opinion. What's more important? What's more significant here? The fact that this company is forced to pay, or the fact that they've been held responsible?
Well, I think both are important. It's interesting, though, because even though they've been ordered to pay the $572 million, will the state ever see the money? We don't know, because there's going to be an appeal. Whether it's $17.5 billion or $572 million, those are both large numbers, but what it comes down to is whether the state is actually going to see the number in reality.
Now, back on this side of the border, what sort of timeline are we looking at for these cases to come to their resolution? Are we talking 5 years, 10 years? It could be a very long time.
I am very impressed with the United States and how fast they move their cases through the court system. Over here, we have the rules of civil procedure, which means a lot of proceedings that must be followed and adhered to. We have to then follow all these steps before we can even have a trial date. If I went to the Toronto courthouse right now and said, I've done every single step, it's taken the last few years, they would give me a trial date today that is in 2021.
2021. So we're talking years and years, but this is an issue that's important to the entire country. So we will be paying attention as long as it goes on. Jasmine, thanks for sort of giving us a primer today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.